Hi, in this video I want to show you a method called long-term goal and key question. It is an activity that takes approximately 1 hour, and the main goal of it is to create a shared understanding and commitment about a long-term goal for a team and the potential risks that might hold the team back to achieve this goal. And as an output of the exercise, you're going to have a one-pager that summarizes the goal and the key questions. But first of all, what are the long-term goals? So what is a long-term goal? We can also call it North Star, and it is simple, a statement that will guide us through our projects and keep us on track. And in our case, our North Star will be our ideal state 2 years from now in the future. The North Star is going to be extremely optimistic, probably too optimistic, which is why we also create key questions where we are collecting risks. And these key questions will allow us to test whether our North Star goal is really possible or if it's just too optimistic. Key questions are risks stated as yes or no questions, but this we will see later. Step 1 is to create 2-year goals, and it will take approximately 8 minutes. And you give every participant a block of rectangular sticky notes, or you use here Miro, and each participant should create 2 to 3 2-year goals. And as said, a 2-year goal is simply a statement about what the most optimistic outcome for this project would be in 2 years. And one thing that is really important for this 2-year goal is that it has to be very optimistic. So try to find really the most optimistic outcomes for the team, for the projects, for whatever you're planning to do. So, and here is an example. You write on the sticky note at the top, in 2 years' time. And then you say, what will be in an ideal state, super optimistic in 2 years' time. And here is an example. In 2 years' time, we are the #1 brand in Europe of car insurances by amount of customers. Or here is another example. In 2 years' time, our insurance checker app wins the Apple Design Award. So this can be anything, yeah? Just use your imagination and think super optimistic and try to state your 2 years goal with this format in 2 years time. After collecting a couple of 2 years goals, it is time to narrow it down. So each participant should choose which one of their 2-year goals they think is the strongest and stick it on the wall or on the whiteboard. So they have to choose. You as a participant have to choose which one is the strongest. And this one you will take further and present it to others. Step 3. In step 3, we are going to apply a technique called straw poll voting. This takes about 5 minutes. And it works like this. First, you give each participant a voting dot, just one. You set the timer for 5 minutes and have participants silently decide which 2-year goal they think is most appealing, but without voting. And once they have decided which one they will choose, they should write their reasoning on a sticky note. And once the time is up, everyone should vote at the same time to avoid influencing each other votes. In the next step, step 4, we're going to present. The facilitator now calls each participant one by one to the whiteboard and has them explain to the group why they voted on what they voted on. Here the facilitator needs to take care that the participants don't ramble and don't take more than 1 minute to explain the reasoning. In the next step, step 5, we are using the technique of the decider vote. And as every workshop and every exercise always has a decider, no discussion will be required to decide who that is in this exercise. The decider is given 1 voting dot and must decide on which 2-year goal sentence will be used on the 1-pager. The decider may also choose to combine 2 sticky notes to make a more appealing sentence if they can do so without discussion. So these were the five steps. These were the 5 steps of the long-term goal. And we were starting with collecting 2-year goals. It's the step 1, create a 2-year goal. And then we were narrowing it down that each participant had to choose their favorite. We did visualize the 2-year goals on the whiteboard. After this, in step 3, we were applying a straw poll voting where everyone should vote at the same time. Finally, each participant presents 2-year goal, and then the decider has the opportunity to decide which one of the 2-year goal sentences will be used on the one-pager. The one-pager is the output, is the result of this workshop exercise. After working on the optimistic view of the long-term goal, we can take the perspective of the pessimist. So we're going to think super pessimistic. And for this, we're going to apply a technique called can we questions. Step 6, create key questions. This part also takes around 8 minutes. And the first step is you ask participants to write things that could stop the team reaching the 2-year goal, this optimistic vision of the future. And finally, to rephrase those challenges as can we questions. Participants should write as many as they can in the time box, but finally can only choose 3 from their stack to add to the whiteboard. So we are collecting, and each participant before has to narrow it down to 3. Here is an example. Can we create an app that people want to use weekly or daily? Or can we build a world-class product team? And like that, you're collecting obstacles and risks and rephrase them as can we questions. In the next step, step 7, you again vote. You give every participant, but not the decider, 3 voting dots and ask them to choose the can we questions they think are the biggest obstacles or risks for the projects. So again, you're going to have a nice collection of risks or can we questions, and each person gets 3 voting dots and has the opportunity to share the 3 voting dots among these sticky notes. Next step, step 8, again is the decider vote. You give the decider 1 vote and allow them to choose 1 can we questions they think absolutely must be addressed. And whichever sticky they choose automatically goes to the top of the pile when the stickies are put in order of votes. The next step, step 9, you revisualize. You remove all but the top 3 can we questions from the board, remembering that the decider vote is automatically on the top. And like this, you have a collection of 3 can we questions with the most important on the top. And together with the long-term goal, this optimistic view, you can create the one-pager, which is the output of the whole exercise. In the last step, in step 10, you're creating a tangible output. And this tangible output is the one-pager. And the one-pager is super simple because you have all the material together. You have decided and narrowed down what your long-term goal is and what are the top 3 can we questions or risks. And you just summarize it on a sheet of paper like this here in 2 years goals. In 2 years, for example, auto insurance is the number 1 car insurance app in the Apple Store. And the risks, can we find a way? Number 1 risk, number 2, build a team that, and number 3, create something. And like this, you have created a shared understanding and commitment about the long-term goal, the optimistic view, and the potential risks, the negative view that might hold the team back throughout the time period of 2 years. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please reach out.